This channel is made possible by viewers like you. My viewers, subscribers, and patrons greatly help to keep this channel going. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for all of you. Please make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any uploads. And if you'd like to go the extra mile, please check out my Patreon page. For just $1 a month, you'll get access to what I'm working on, previews of upcoming content, and even early videos, along with other tier options for those that are interested. Thank you, and now on to the video. This channel is no stranger to the Callisto protocol. I honestly love the game and in many ways defend many aspects about it. When it comes to what was provided in the base game, I really enjoyed it. The simple story had some speed bumps, but overall it was very enjoyable. While the game was not scary, I found it to be really intense. The melee combat made many of these encounters very intimate, and I enjoyed the firearm options as well. It looked like the first chapter in a new property that we were hopefully going to see more of, but with the game not meeting sales expectations and being rather mixed with its reception, I am unsure if we'll ever see anything from this world again. When it comes to the additional content, there were a few options added on for free, which were appreciated, but there were premium add-ons as well with the season pass. I have covered some of those items individually, but I thought it would be a good idea to talk about the expansion pass as a whole and see if there's really something here that is worth your time and money. So outside of some new skins and death animations, our first piece of content is actually a new difficulty mode called Contagion. This is billed as the hardest mode within the game, and it appears to be something that is harder than hardcore, with the limited save options, and if you die you have to restart the chapter. This is not something that I have any interest in, but it is good that something like this is here. But this also brings up one of my first issues with the expansion pass. Why am I paying for a difficulty mode? For free, they offered New Game Plus and Hardcore. I can understand that work was put into Contagion mode, but it is still just playing through the campaign again with some modifiers on. Contagion feels like it should have been provided as a free add-on. This is going to be a common theme with the items included in the expansion pass. If you want to charge for content like this, then you need to bring the premium value to the buyer, or in this case, the player. So yes, I do like that another difficulty is provided for players who want that additional challenge, but that is besides the point, in that something like this you should not be charged for. So next up is the Riot mode. If you like the combat, then you'll probably get a bunch of value out of this mode. It's essentially a horde mode and very arcadey. Everything is fast here and the HUD is noisier to provide you with more information quickly. You can only carry one long and one short gun, and you can even buy fuses to insert into traps to help you thin the herd. There's a fun rampage bar that you can unload onto enemies, and this will allow you to pretty much one-shot everything. You earn credits from killed enemies and can use that on upgrades and healing items. Overall, the DLC is pretty fun and the best of the bunch, but it has a few problems. So the big one is that it lacks any other maps. You only get one. This is something like Mercenaries from Resident Evil, so it should have come with some more maps to play on. Along with this, maybe some character skin options would have been a nice touch as well. It is fun, but it feels like they could have done so much more with this, considering they are asking you to buy it separately. The way it is, it should have been a free update, not something you pay for. So the last piece of DLC is the final transmission. This takes place right after the end of the game and acts as the final piece of story content for the game. This is where you get the true ending. For about half of it, I really enjoyed it. The combat is the same and you get some nice supernatural touches throughout. You also get a new melee weapon with the hammer, and when the game is not trying to get in your own way, there is a lot of enjoyment with it. Smashing anything makes you feel like a god. The problem is that the second half of the DLC is full of poorly balanced fights with these new organic robots, and the game throws way too many enemies at you. It really isn't built for this. I appreciate the scale at times, but many of the fights were really tedious and frustrating. And then add on to this is that the ending is very unsatisfying. It is a case of it should have been executed much better, and Jacob and honestly the player base deserved better than what we got. I did individual videos on Riot and the story DLCs if you want more details and spoilers on them, but after beating the final transmission, I have no interest in playing this again, even with the fun hammer. Whereas I could throw on a round of Riot anytime and I would gladly replay the campaign any day of the week. For $30, the expansion pass provides a rather weak set of new items to the player. If you're going to charge for additional items, modes, or additions, then you really need to bring the quality to make this additional purchase feel worth it. I have no problem with paying for DLC and expansion content, but it needs to be good. Now, like I said, there are good elements here and there when it comes to the content provided. For example, the Riot mode is overall fun, but with the limited options, this is not worth $10 by itself, or even included in the expansion pass for $30. At a minimum, it needed more maps to enjoy and play this mode. The way it was provided with just one map makes the entire thing feel like it should have been something that was provided as a free add-on. Again, if Riot mode was a free add-on, I would be praising it rather than saying it's not worth the full price to access it. I also feel like the expansion pass was a bit of a missed opportunity in some cases. For example, this could have been an opportunity to allow the player to see the game from different points of view. One DLC worth exploring could have been focused on Elias. While I do prefer the less is more approach to stories, you could have focused on how Elias got into the prison, or maybe even just play a prologue of sorts to the game where we see Elias learning and surviving the prison before Jacob got there. It could even be like a heist where we are learning different aspects of the prison and trying to figure out where things are and potentially to escape. Elias as a character is someone I would like to spend more time with. Then you have Danny. There could have been a DLC episode just focused on her. Maybe she plays differently than Jacob, and we need to work our way through the prison but doing it differently or something like that. There could have been a set of fun one-off modes as well. A mode dedicated to us playing as two heads would have been fun or something like that. I'm not a game designer or developer, but it feels like the expansion pass in many ways did not even try to be creative or do something interesting. Now sure, you could say that the final transmission does try to do something interesting, but with that ending it definitely leaves on a note where you kind of feel cheated based on how Jacob is taken out. $30 is way too much for what is provided here, and there is a strong argument to make many of these items free. Again, by providing new modes for the campaign for free from New Game Plus, Hardcore, and Dismemberment, and then deciding to charge for Contagion, it kind of feels scummy. It feels like a situation of how much can they squeeze out of the player base, rather than what additional stuff they can do to provide for the fans and honestly make it worth your time and spending money on. And that is a shame, because as a big fan of the game, I honestly want more new content to enjoy with Callisto, but a season pass like this sends the wrong message to the player base and can honestly hurt the image of the game a bit itself. Like I said at the start, I really loved the base game. It provided that initial hook and I enjoyed it a lot when it came out, even before many of the patches, and I appreciate much of the stability and performance improvements, but there was a bit of overcorrection when it came to how enemies ganged up on you, even on normal. This brings up another example for modes or options that should be included in the game. There should have been an old school or classic set of difficulty options for the player to enjoy the campaign. Many of the patches to help make the melee combat more fair sort of resorted in it being a bit of an overcorrection. So I think it would be pretty cool if the developers just gave us a set of options that had the game play like it did when it initially launched. I'd love to see it, and I think many other fans would love it too, just don't charge for it. So is the expansion pass worth your time? Not really. Riot mode is the best of the bunch, and while the final transmission has its moments, you could easily skip it. Outside of the hammer, you're not really missing much. So overall, I would not recommend the expansion pass. Maybe give it a try if it's $5 for the entire thing one day. I do highly recommend the base game though. What are your thoughts on the DLC content? Do you like it or hate it? Let me know all of this in the comments down below. If you're interested in being notified of new videos, please hit the subscribe button and bell. And if you would like to support the channel and get early access to content, please check out my Patreon. All of the links will be at the end of this video and within the description. And thank you very much for watching.